Do you believe that it is constitutional for the United States to blow up people that are accused of being drug traffickers?
So it's not going to be a yes or no question. If I could take
okay,
a few
then
seconds.
I'm gonna stop you there because I only got so much time.
What started as a debate over military action against Venezuela took a dramatic turn when Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett suddenly invoked the Jeffrey Epstein files and President Trump. Arguing that the same legal standards should apply to everyone, Crockett accused lawmakers of abandoning the Constitution and using politics to justify actions they would never accept if directed at the United States. Here's what happened.
Gentleman from Missouri, I recognize the ranking member, Ms. Crockett.
Okay, I don't know where to begin. So I'm gonna start with Tupac. We're gonna start with the fact that Tupac famously said, for those of you that didn't necessarily listen to rap, that we've got money for war, but we can't feed the poor. And the reason that I bring this up is for two reasons. Number one, in order to get Maduro, the estimated cost is $3 billion. I can guarantee you that a lot of Americans would say, yes, there's a valid warrant and things like that, but for the cost of $3 billion, let's put our money somewhere else, number one. Number two, Professor, you talked about the fact that if there wasn't the loss of life as it relates to our service members, or if this was just kind of quick boots on the ground for a second, then it wasn't war. So just answer this question for me. Would you consider what is taking place currently in the Middle East a war because we continue to have our sons and daughters returned in caskets to the United States? That's a yes or no?
No, the analysis for Iran is different.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you agree with me then? Yes?
I didn't say that.
Okay, it's different analysis. So I'm just going to go with you agree with me because this is clearly a war and it's unconstitutional. That is the bottom line. And frankly, as it relates to Venezuela, I think that we still will have some time to determine exactly how bad it is. Because imagine for 2 seconds that you had fishermen and sailors that were coming from the United States, and Venezuela all of a sudden started bombing our people saying, oh, no, you're bringing guns, because let me be clear, America does their fair share of nonsense in other countries. We tend to supply everybody with the guns. We flood this world with guns everywhere, right? So let's say they said, you know what, we don't want all those guns going to the gangsters in our communities, so we're just gonna start blowing people up. And frankly, legally, that may work for them. You know why? We have a constitution, and not everybody does. And so it is offensive to sit here and engage in this conversation as someone who practiced criminal law. And my God, everyone that I had, no matter what they were accused of, even if they were accused of capital murder, they were given an opportunity to actually show up in court and face their accusations, not be killed. So the justification, like I don't understand why we are trying to make it partisan. It should not be partisan to just go and blow up these boats. Are you saying, Professor, that you believe that blowing up these boats because somebody believes it, you know what, let me do it this way. Let's say they are drug traffickers. Do you believe that it is constitutional for the United States to blow up people that are accused of being drug traffickers?
So it's not going to be a yes or no question. If I could take
okay,
a few
then
seconds.
I'm gonna stop you there because I only got so much time. And Professor, you know, I was really loving on you because you came from South Texas, which is down in Houston, not too far from the University of Houston where I got my law degree, but it is very clear that it is unconstitutional for us in the United States. Let me give y'all another issue that I don't understand if y'all see it the way that I do. There's this little thing called the Epstein files. There's a lot of people that have been found liable, charged, all kinds of stuff, from Prince Andrew and Peter Mandelson, from Norwegian officials, the former prime minister, and the former ambassador, all these different people, right? Some would argue, especially since there was international trafficking that was taking place, some would argue that our president, whose name is found over and over and over and over in these files, may have engaged in, say, child trafficking, sex trafficking. They may come to that conclusion. Now, with that being the understanding, if there are other countries that believe, because they believe in actually holding people accountable, okay? So they say, you know what, there were some girls from England or wherever, because there were people from different countries, and they say, you know what, we gonna just come and we're gonna drop in on America, we're going to bomb America, we're going to kill civilians in America because you know what? We have a warrant for his arrest. Whether it's for the child sex trafficking in the Epstein files because America doesn't want to do their job, or whether we're talking about violating international law, whether we're talking about going and just randomly killing people. I can tell you that every single one of you that is sticking up for him right now would be screaming from the rooftops. The analysis has to be the same. I am so offended that I am still paying my daggone student loans for law school, and it seems like none of it matters nowadays. Because seemingly what we do is we twist the law to justify. The analysis is the same. If you would be outraged if they came and bombed our country to go after him to arrest him, if you're listening, that I don't know. I don't know if people are doing this. But if they decided to do that because of the Epstein files or because of violating international law, you all would be against it. So we should be against it right now. Thank you, I'll yield.
One of the most striking moments of the hearing came when Representative Jasmine Crockett shifted the discussion away from military strategy and toward a broader question about the rule of law. Rather than treating the debate as a partisan disagreement, she argued that the Constitution should remain the standard for judging government action regardless of who occupies the White House. Crockett began by questioning whether the United States should be spending billions of dollars on military operations while many Americans continue struggling with problems at home. Quoting the late rapper Tupac Shakur's famous line, "We've got money for war, but we can't feed the poor," she framed the issue as one of national priorities. Her point was not simply about government spending but about whether policymakers are focusing resources where ordinary Americans believe they are needed most. The conversation then moved to military operations overseas. Crockett challenged testimony suggesting that certain uses of force might not legally qualify as war. She argued that when American service members are returning home in flag-draped coffins, the country cannot simply redefine the conflict to avoid constitutional questions. In her view, if American troops are risking their lives in sustained military operations, Congress has a responsibility to fully examine whether those actions comply with the Constitution and whether lawmakers have properly exercised their authority over the use of military force. From there, Crockett turned to a legal principle that became the foundation of her entire argument: due process. Drawing on her experience as a criminal defense attorney, she reminded the committee that even individuals accused of the most serious crimes are entitled to appear before a court, hear the evidence against them, and defend themselves. That protection is one of the core principles embedded in the American justice system. She argued that constitutional rights do not disappear simply because the allegations are severe or emotionally charged. To make her point more concrete, Crockett asked whether the United States should kill people merely because they are accused of crimes such as drug trafficking. She pressed the witness repeatedly for a direct answer, arguing that accusations alone should never replace judicial process. Although the witness attempted to provide a more nuanced legal explanation, Crockett maintained that the constitutional principle itself was straightforward. The hearing took its most explosive turn when Crockett introduced the Jeffrey Epstein investigation into the discussion. She argued that if some people believe the repeated public references to President Trump's name in materials associated with the Epstein investigation justify treating him as guilty without a judicial process, then they should consider how dangerous that logic could become if applied internationally. She referenced the international nature of Epstein's trafficking network and suggested that, under the same reasoning being used to justify unilateral military action, another country could claim authority to use force inside the United States against someone it believed had committed crimes. Her argument was hypothetical, but it was designed to test the consistency of the legal reasoning being presented during the hearing. She challenged lawmakers to imagine how Americans would react if another nation announced that it intended to bomb locations inside the United States or carry out military operations based solely on its own accusations against an American citizen. Crockett argued that most Americans would reject such actions immediately because they would expect allegations to be resolved through lawful judicial proceedings rather than military force. Whether viewers agree with her conclusion or not, Crockett's broader point was about consistency. She argued that constitutional protections and international legal principles should not change depending on whose conduct is being examined or which political party benefits from the outcome. If Americans expect other nations to respect U.S. sovereignty and due process, she suggested, then the United States should apply those same standards when evaluating its own actions abroad. The exchange also reflected a recurring theme throughout many congressional hearings: the tension between national security and constitutional safeguards. Governments frequently argue that extraordinary threats require extraordinary responses, while critics warn that abandoning legal protections in the name of security can create precedents that eventually threaten everyone's rights. That debate has surfaced repeatedly throughout American history during periods of war, terrorism, and international conflict. Crockett closed by expressing frustration that, in her view, legal analysis had become influenced by political loyalty rather than constitutional principles. She argued that Americans should not evaluate the legality of government actions based on who is in power but on whether those actions would be acceptable if the circumstances were reversed. Ultimately, this exchange was about more than Venezuela or even the Epstein investigation. It became a debate over whether constitutional protections, due process, and equal application of the law remain guiding principles even during politically charged moments. Those questions continue to shape many of the most consequential policy debates taking place in Congress today.